Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. 46% of Americans have an issue with blood pressure, and this issue is slowly making its way into the younger generation. On the show today, Bob and Rollie explain the basics of blood pressure and identify the different factors that can negatively affect it. They also share some great techniques you can use to naturally regulate blood pressure and keep your heart health strong. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Welcome everybody to Live Forever Young Radio. I'm Bob and I'm here with Rollie.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Welcome everyone, and today we're going to talk about blood pressure. And so Rollie, we working at Boomers Forever Young, answering the phones when people call in. Probably about half the people that call in have an issue with blood pressure, I would say.
I'd say that's
approximately,
maybe more. A lot of people have that issue.
The people we deal with are older than average,
right?
But they say that 46% of all the people in the United States have some form of high blood pressure, even if it's just mild all the way to crisis.
Really,
that's more
almost
and more,
50%
almost
of the
half, and more younger people are having high blood pressure. So a lot of it's related to diet, really poor diet, as you might imagine.
Yeah, but, we don't have a lot of options as far as non-processed stuff now, so we got to look a little harder.
Yes. So most people know when you're talking about blood pressure, we always hear these numbers: 120/80.
Yeah.
Your high number, your systolic pressure. That's the pressure when your heart is beating and pushing blood, and then when the arteries are relaxed, when your heart is resting, that's the diastolic, that's the low number, which they're saying you want to try to have little below 80.
Okay.
And so now they have varying degrees of blood pressure problems that they have categories for.
Okay.
So they say normal is less than 120/80. Now, you don't want it to be too low. That's just as big a problem.
Right.
We've seen that sometimes too.
Yes, we have.
Elevated is 122 to 129, and stage 1 hypertension is 130 to 139 over 80 to 89.
Okay.
And then stage 2 is 140/90 or above.
That's getting up there.
Yep. And then a hypertensive crisis is 180/120. This is when you need to be at the hospital receiving treatment.
180. So just real quick, 180. What does that number mean now? What is that saying?
That is the pressure when your heart is beating. That's the pressure on your arteries when your heart's beating. And so if you're at 180/120, you're going to feel really, really bad.
Like, what would you feel?
Well, you're going to feel flush, and you're going to feel like your heart is pounding, and you're going to probably feel dizzy as well.
Goodness.
And at that point, you're going to know something's wrong, and it's time. People also will have headaches. Once it gets to that point, some people get headaches with blood pressure much lower than that.
Really, one of the things I heard, I heard this in either one of our shows or Ann, our other guest that we've talked to. I think she said that the heart only pumps blood to 75% of the body.
Well, actually, the heart is pumping blood to 25%. 25%? It's
even worse.
The rest of the circulatory system is very small.
Right.
And the blood actually moves when the arteries are, opening and closing.
The vasodilation. That's something you taught me.
Right.
Vasodilation, when they kind of like open and close on their own from the residual pressure.
It's not from the residual pressure.
What's
they're opening from action on the inside of the circulatory system. You have a lining called endothelium. And that endothelium gets acted upon by a couple of different forces. One is nitric oxide that expands it and opens up the capillary or the arterial, and the other is from electromagnetic pulses that are coming from the core of the earth. And so that is opening up, but the high blood pressure is being measured at the larger arteries.
Gotcha.
Where the heart is pumping blood through. As soon as it gets through the first 25%, the capillaries are so tiny that the pumping action isn't actually doing anything.
Wow. Okay. So
what it's doing is it's pumping
issue.
pumping it right up to those tiny arterioles and capillaries, so
Yes.
it's present, and then as the system opens and closes, it draws it in and moves it along.
Okay,
Right?
gotcha. Thank you. I just wanted to...
Yeah, and so we'll say, well, why do we have to worry if we have high blood pressure?
Right.
So we know from many years of research and observation that it causes things like strokes, dementia, heart disease, problems with your eyes, kidney disease in particular, and aneurysms, which is an artery or a vein that will burst.
Now, that's usually in the brain? Or
It can be in the brain. It can also be in other parts of your body as well,
Okay.
including in your the part of your stomach right through here. Quite often you'll get aneurysms, not you, but quite often an aneurysm is more in this area of your body, the
Really?
stomach, chest area.
Okay, and are those as deadly as the ones that occur in the brain?
Yes. Yeah. Because because it's bursting, and so you get internal bleeding.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why it's good. Some people will see advertisements where they say, hey, come in for this special checkup, and we're going to do a scan
Cool.
of your brain and your body. They're looking for any bubbles that might cause an aneurysm that could be repaired sooner.
That'd be good.
Okay. Very good. And so what is it that causes high blood pressure?
Oh, right.
Right. And so one of the main things is inflammation. So there are numerous doctors that believe that most people with high blood pressure, that it's being caused because they have high inflammation, meaning systemic inflammation throughout your body. And so later on, we're going to talk about how do you know if you have that? What kind of tests can you get?
Right.
And then what do you do about that?
Right. This isn't just I got injured and I got inflammation. This is all throughout the body.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And so then also stress is well-known cause of high blood pressure.
Sure.
Stress has a negative effect on your adrenals, and so having problems with your adrenals can cause high blood pressure, and also with your thyroid.
Okay.
So thyroid hormones that are out of balance can cause high blood pressure.
Wow.
Also, if you have kidney disease, kidneys have a very special relationship with your blood pressure.
Okay.
And they actually are sending hormonal signals that are helping regulate your blood pressure and your blood volume.
Wow.
Right?
Okay. I didn't really know that.
And so another thing that is really bad is sleep apnea. Sleep apnea can cause high blood pressure, and if you remember for us, Rollie, later on when we talk about what to do, remember a brand new treatment called Vivos. For high blood pressure.
I won't forget that word, Vivos.
Vivos, okay? The other things are alcohol, excessive alcohol, smoking. There's still between 20 and 30 million people in the United States that smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, that's not
right.
good.
And overweight and obesity also, big contributing factor. Lack of exercise, and another really big one right up there with inflammation is poor nutrition.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds like a perfect storm of bad blood pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of people have multiple of those issues too.
Yes.
So then that compounds it even more.
And some of these also cause more inflammation, which is right there at the top. Right. Now, when you talk about poor nutrition, this has been talked about for many decades where, the first thing your doctor would tell you is try to limit your salt intake.
Yes.
Right. Well, still to this day, you have people in people's diets, there's about 5 times as much salt as they need. Okay. And about 5 times as little potassium as they need. And magnesium is another one. So later we'll talk about all the nutrients, the positive nutrients that contribute to healthy blood pressure.
Okay.
And we'll go over that. Okay. But in general, you want to make sure that your sodium and potassium ratio are in balance, and you also want to make sure that you have enough calcium.
Okay.
If people are low in calcium, that also has an effect on blood pressure.
Okay, wow, there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
Okay, so what should we do? And we'll take the inflammation part first.
Okay.
And we've done a whole show on inflammation.
Yes, if you haven't seen it, check it out on Live Forever Young Radio. It's a show all about inflammation and how it affects your health. And obviously, it does more than just one thing. So that's why we want to talk about it a little bit more and zero in on it and how it affects blood pressure. So that's a good thing.
So there are doctors who, when people, especially children, come to them with high blood pressure, the first thing they do is look at their inflammation and they endeavor to get it down.
Okay.
And in about 65% of the cases, the blood pressure can be controlled by controlling inflammation.
Really?
In children, in these studies with children.
You know, children with high blood pressure is fairly new.
Yep.
That didn't happen a lot.
Yep. And
before.
A lot of it is diet and stress, right? So a couple of things with diet, tons of sugar, sugary drinks, okay?
Yeah.
Is definitely going to play a contributing role because the sugary drinks cause inflammation.
Right. All that sugar that doesn't get used turns into free radicals.
Yes.
And creates inflammation.
Right. Exactly. And so the other thing is technology, right? Video games create a lot of stress in children and can create not only high blood pressure, but autoimmune issues, allergies, that kind of thing.
And also they're not moving because they're behind the game console.
They're not moving. And instead, they're playing video games, which quite often are violent video games.
That's not good.
And violent video games create a situation in a child's brain where they're of the belief that things are not okay. When you're being shot at in a violent video game, your unconscious mind doesn't know that it's not real, and your body reacts as if you're actually in a war.
That's like when we talk about revision scissors.
Yes.
You can trick your subconscious into believing that you're revising it with the right thing.
Yes.
Well, video games, they can zero in on that same subconscious.
They trick your frontal cortex, your heart muscle, and your amygdala into believing that we're in a crisis. And so you have all the attendant PTSD type of illness onset
symptoms
that are similar to actually someone having been in a war.
Wow.
Okay?
In children.
In children. So I've done therapy for children before who were sick, and the reason was they were spending all their free time playing violent video games. So we had to use a particular technique called craniosacral therapy for the immune system to reset their immune system and also help the parents and grandparents and the child to get back on track, meaning if you could do what you really loved, what would it be that you would be doing as opposed to shoot 'em up video games? And you would see the child's allergies and other issues related to this stress and the immune problem would go away.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That does a number on your psyche, so be careful with what you're playing on the video games.
Yeah, so I've seen a situation where one particular person went from being sick and playing video games to changing their life path and focusing on what they really wanted to do. In this case, it was acting and music and dance, and this was probably more than 15 years ago that they did this. And the person now is a world-class athlete.
Really?
World-class, like top 10 in the world in its class.
Wow, okay. So,
And so this is the difference it can make if you can notice things like high blood pressure or autoimmune issues in children. And if it's being caused by video games, then you're going to need help.
Cut them out.
With the inflammation in general, right, a lot of inflammation is caused by too much sugar, right? So it's still to this day, 25% of all the calories in the United States that are consumed is from drinking soda pop. And so you also have other sugary sports drinks, that kind of thing.
Gatorade, all that stuff.
Food with lots of sugar in it, especially processed foods.
Right.
Also, in the processed foods, you have oxidated fats, trans fats, which are highly, highly inflammatory. Some doctors think even more so than the sugar.
Really?
And so it's very difficult to not be inflamed if you are not paying attention and you don't know where the inflammation is coming from and what to do.
Right.
So what we do at Boomers Forever Young to help people with inflammation, first, what's causing it, right? And secondly, what can we give you in the form of nutritional supplements to knock it down?
Right.
And some people, no matter what they do without antioxidants, are still going to be inflamed. A person with diabetes who can't get their A1C down, below 6 is going to have constant inflammation. But we also have people that use our nutritional supplements that even with a high A1C, your blood sugar, their
high.
Inflammation is almost imperceptible.
And now, how does that even happen then?
Okay, so when you have high inflammation, it's because you're producing free radicals.
Right, we just mentioned
hydroxyl radicals and reactive oxygen species. And so to get them down, you need to ingest free radical scavengers in the form of things like superoxide dismutase, trimethylglycine, glutathione, and also what they call the ACE vitamins. Vitamin A, C, and E.
Okay.
Now, so that's the issue with inflammation.
Now, all those are just lists of antioxidants.
Those are the antioxidants in the powders that we have at Boomers Forever Young, sprouted barley seeds,
SOD
and
in
also,
that.
SOD, and in the product Boomer Boost has trimethylglycine, proanthocyanins, and also vitamin A, C, and E, coenzyme Q10, glutathione are all in that product.
All to help battle.
And so
it.
when you take them both together, you see your inflammation come way down, and more often than not, your blood pressure also.
Right, because they're so closely related.
Yeah, exactly. So the next thing is you want to avoid toxins, because toxins also can create inflammation and can lead to high blood pressure.
Sure.
So the good news is the toxins you pick up in the environment, like tire dust, car fumes, and the like, and also toxins from eating overcooked meat, can all be scavenged in addition by these free radical scavengers, also tend to act to remove toxins from your body, including mold. A lot of people get overexposed to mold, and it gets in their body, on their body, and it proliferates.
Yeah, and then you got to get that out.
Yeah, quite often with superoxide dismutase, the mold will come out of your body.
Oof, that sounds scary. But
and it's good. It's a good thing. You want to give yourself a fresh start with this cleanse.
Exactly. Okay?
Now, the other, we mentioned about overcooked meat, big cause of toxicity that can lead to high blood pressure.
That's those crispy bits that you like to eat off the grill. That's not good for you.
Any meat that's cooked over 300 degrees on dry heat. Okay, so even if it doesn't become blackened, if it's heated up over 300 degrees, which most of the time it is, and it's with no liquid, it creates glycotoxins in the meat, and one of the leading causes of cancer, and it causes inflammation.
You said, I've heard you say, when they look at these things under a microscope, does not even identify. They actually tell you, get that away from me. I don't know what that is.
It's a glycotoxin.
Yeah, they can't even identify it positively as food. That's scary. So don't eat that.
Right. So the other big thing is exercise.
Yeah.
Definite correlation between sedentary lifestyle and high blood pressure. And so people need an easy way to exercise. It has to be really easy. So the best thing that I know of is you get stretch band.
I love those things.
Stretch cords and use them for resistance exercise, and also simply walk. Walk, build your way up. Walk a few steps more each day. Walk a little faster each day.
Park farther away from the grocery store, so you got to walk a little further. One of the things that I was thinking about when we're talking about getting active is a lot of people are working from home with everything that's going on. A lot of people's, even if they weren't working from home, they'd be sitting somewhere. And so we got to break that idea of I'm working, so I have to sit, right? and you're on the phone, you got a cell phone, stand up and walk around.
Yep.
I see you walk out in the back of the alley every day.
Yep. I walk a couple of miles while I'm on the phone.
It's true,
day.
guys. I'm serious. I'll know Bob's on a good call because he'll sit outside and walk up and down the alley 30 times if he's on a good call. So I'm serious. That's one of the things you can do. It's simple. It's easy. You're not tethered anymore by a wire to your desk if you're on a cell phone. So use that to your advantage and get up and move.
Absolutely. Rollie, we promised to talk about sleep.
Yes.
And Vivos.
Yes, I was just about to say, I also said Vivos.
Yes. So sleep apnea is one of the things that can cause high blood pressure.
Now, sleep apnea, real quick, that's when your tongue, what is that? Does it cover your air hole? What the heck is it really?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So you're narrowing the air passage, and it can be from your tongue, or more than likely, it's actually from the shape and structure of your face. So it looks, many years ago, it used to be that babies were breastfed for a long period of time.
Yes,
right?
I remember
a couple of years.
Yes.
And it changed the shape of their jaw, and it changed the shape of their palate. Really? The top part of the palate was much wider. Okay. But now, the babies aren't breastfed for that long, and they also have formula and mashed up baby food.
I've seen that, yep.
It used to be that babies actually had to learn to chew food more when they were younger because they didn't have commercial baby food. And so the babies were nursing more and chewing more, and they had a different structure to their face.
To their jaw and their face.
And their breathing airway was wider open.
So this wasn't as common.
Yeah. And so Vivos was created by scientists that understood this, and it's like braces for your palate.
Cool.
And so it's shaped to your palate. It goes up inside your mouth, and it's pushing your palate apart. It's slowly widening it.
Okay.
Your body generates its own stem cells, as we know from a program with Ann.
Check that out, liveforeveryoungradio.com.
Yeah, and those stem cells will actually build new bone in your mouth, and you can widen your mouth with this strategy.
Cool.
As if you had nursed and chewed when you were a young child.
So it can still be done later in life.
Yes.
Okay.
And so this is a device that pushes apart your palate.
Wow.
Rebuilds
reverse
bone,
braces, basically.
and it's an actual cure for sleep apnea, so you don't have to continuously use the CPAP breathing machines.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Now that's a really important thing, because sleep apnea not only causes high blood pressure, but a lot of other things as well, a lot of other problems. Right? And so that's the issue regarding sleep. Now we also talked about stress.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And so we have used a device that is called Inner Balance.
The Inner Balance.
From the Heart Math Company.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's very something you guys should check out.
Exactly. So this is a device that clips to your ear, and it has a transponder that's communicating to an app on your cell phone.
It's pretty cool.
Right.
Pretty cool.
So the app on your cell phone is going to be giving you feedback as to what's going on with the detection of this device, particularly what's going on with your heart. So you can know a lot about your health and your state of mind from how your heart is beating. And your heart can beat with varying degrees of variability. And you want your heart to beat with variability, because when it's beating with variability, it's signaling your brain that everything is okay.
Okay.
It's signaling your amygdala in particular, which is a part of your brain that is regulating your stress response and communicating with other parts of your brain if everything's okay or not, which then results in your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is controlling your adrenal secretions.
Wow.
And so stress relates to your adrenals, relates to your blood pressure.
Wow.
Okay. So the Inner Balance device knows what's going on with your heartbeat, and there's instructions on how to change it, which is essentially syncing your breath very consciously and rhythmically, and focusing your mind on what you're grateful for.
Linger in the gratitude.
The longer you linger in gratitude, the more variability in your heartbeat.
Yes.
The signal goes to your amygdala that says everything is okay, which signals your frontal cortex that everything's okay, which signals your heart that everything's okay.
And you know that works because not only have I actually used the product, the Inner Balance product, but what its goal is to try to get you to do that without having something clipped to your ear. And I have to say, I use that. We talked a couple of days ago about morning routines. It was a show we did. Check it out on Live Forever Young Radio if you're listening. You can watch the video too there. But what we were talking about was using our morning routine to get going. And I've actually used that technique in my morning routine where I'll wake up. Honestly, you know, sometimes you wake up and you kind of, okay, what's going on? What do I got to do today? What do I got to do? I find that the best thing to do is wake up, take a couple deep breaths, and the first thing I did the other day was think about how grateful I was to have my daughter. And that I get to wake up with her every morning, get her ready for school, and she starts my day out well. And it made all that anxiety about not knowing where my shoes were, or maybe not knowing if my pants were clean for them. It made it all go away. Because it didn't matter, you know? Yeah. You're grateful for the fact that you can wake up and have a purpose. And in this case, it was my daughter. So it helps you focus like that. And I really think you guys should check it out.
Yeah,
it really works.
Absolutely. The Inner Balance device by HeartMath is it's really like a miracle.
It is.
And so what happens is when you're looking at the computer,
the app on
your phone, is you see this circle in the middle, looks like a mandala.
Yeah, and it goes in and out.
It shrinks and expands, right?
Yes.
It gets smaller and bigger. And what you're doing is you're syncing your breath to the sizing of this mandala.
Yeah.
And then really around the outside of the mandala are these little boxes.
Yep.
And based on what's going on with your heartbeat, the box fills in with a different color.
Yep.
So filling in with red, you're still in anxiety.
Correct.
Right? Filling in with blue, you're getting there. And filling in with green, your amygdala has changed.
You've got that variability going.
And your heart rate has changed.
Yes.
Okay. And so you get to watch what's going on.
In real time.
Yep. And then at the end, when you stop 5 minutes later, half hour later, however long you want to do it, it records that session, stores it in the cloud.
Yep.
And you get to watch your progress. And then you also get to tweak the relative difficulty in the app by changing it. Start with level 1, you can go to level 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
And you get higher and higher scores as you get better and better.
Yep.
And you can go from, Rollie, they say that with the average American, they're of the belief that things are not okay 95% of the time.
That's scary.
It's scary. So what happens with Inner Balance is you can move that from 5% of the time I think things are all right to 10%, to 20%, to 50%. And if you focus and use it consistently over time, you can become a person who's of the belief that everything is okay unless it's really not. So it's not just your belief structure that's doing this, but there's actually some issue that's kind of an emergency.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so that's the best way that I know of for people to manage their stress. Right. The other thing is the issue of nutrition. So we know from research that people that have a low vitamin D3 level are highly susceptible to having high blood pressure. And most people don't know their D3 level. It's the sunshine vitamin, and it needs to be up in the range of 70 in order to have maximum benefit for your body. And more than half the people that have high blood pressure have extremely low vitamin D levels.
You know, I'm glad that you brought this up because this kind of brings up well, I get this question a lot. A lot of people ask, you know, I've tried a bunch of different stuff, a bunch of different medications, but my blood pressure number is still really high. So what am I doing wrong? What am I not looking at? This would probably be one of those things that if you're doing a lot of stuff to try to get your blood pressure down and it isn't moving, this is probably one of those aspects you want to look at.
It's one of the things that you would want to get tested.
Okay.
Right? So you want to ask your doctor the next time you go for blood work, I would like to know my vitamin D level. I would like to know my iron level. I would like to know my CRP level, which is your measure of inflammation.
Very important.
And my A1C, which is your level of blood sugar
level
over a period of time.
Okay. Good.
And so by getting those numbers under control, most of the time you can address blood pressure issues.
Okay.
Because if you have a high CRP, your measure of inflammation, and you can use SOD and trimethylglycine, et cetera, to get it down, and at the same time, you increase your vitamin D3 level, right? Most of the time, people's blood pressure will come to the normal range.
That's good.
Okay. And so you want to also make sure you get your iron checked because a lot of people have high iron. And high iron causes inflammation.
Oh, really?
So high iron creates a situation that elevates inflammation because the iron interacts with hydrogen peroxide, which is produced as a byproduct of your Krebs cycle, right, from your mitochondria.
Yes.
And so, in the combination of the two, makes a really nasty free radical that damages the lining of your mitochondria severely.
The iron and the hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
we can scavenge those.
And it makes for inflammation. Yeah. Now you can scavenge it, but you're also better off not making it. And so you want to make sure your iron level is under control.
How do you get it down if it's too high?
Go and donate blood.
Oh, that's a pretty simple solution.
Donate blood. And some people can do that and feel a lot better. So iron levels, if you have high iron levels and you're damaging your mitochondria, it is going to make you feel tired.
Right.
Okay. And also, iron levels are related to your level of testosterone.
Really?
Right. So you want to make sure that you know your iron level. And if you hear from your practitioner, your iron's fine, it's in the range, you want to look at that yourself.
Really?
Say, all right, is it all the way at the top of the range and one more tick and it's out of the range? That's too high. You want to, the doctors that research this say bring it down to about 20% above the low end of the range.
Really? Okay.
You want enough iron, right? Because it's involved in oxygenation.
A lot of processes, yeah.
And you want to have enough. But as it starts to creep up, you're creating too much inflammation.
Really? You know, it's funny. You were talking about going to your practitioner. Another one of the things that people have dealing with, actually my wife is one of them, they get the thing called white coat syndrome.
Yes.
Where like they get to the doctor and then their blood pressure shoots through the roof, probably from anxiety, being anxious.
Yeah.
So
some research shows that as many as 30% of the people diagnosed with high blood pressure don't actually have high blood pressure.
Really?
That it's from white coat syndrome.
Well, how do you get a test on the blood pressure without freaking out?
So what you also want to do is test your own blood pressure, right?
Oh,
so you want to test your own blood pressure at various times of the day. Keep track of it. Right?
Okay.
If you find that when you get to work, your blood pressure starts to go up, might be a good time to pause during a 10 or 15-minute break and use an inner balance device, or center your breathing, rhythmic breathing, while you focus on what you're grateful for. Okay? And you want to have those measurements of your own when you're not in the presence of a doctor, so you can show the doctor what it is without white coat.
That's what I would think. You'd have to probably write down what it's like when you're not near him and say, hey, look, I'm fine when I'm not with you, but when I come in here, goes up.
Also, blood pressure can go up based on your diet over the last few days. If you ate a lot of salty potato chips or something like that.
Yeah, like the big game's coming up.
And there's trans fats in these potato chips along with a lot of salt. It can easily raise your blood pressure.
And it might be a temporary thing.
You might not need medication, but the doctor's not going to know that, and you're probably not going to think to tell him, oh, I just ate a whole bunch of junk food.
I just ate Tostitos, Lay's, all this stuff while I was watching a football game. Okay. So then I think the other thing that people can do, Rollie, is when they go to the doctor, right, while you're in the doctor's office waiting to go in,
use the emotional freedom technique.
Well, of course.
Use tapping.
Oh, right. Yeah. That.
Tap on the sides of your nails.
How would that go? Let's do a thing real quick. Up until now, how would it go? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, even though up until now,
right.
I thought that I had to have this white coat syndrome.
Right.
When I get to the doctor, I get nervous and my blood pressure goes up.
Right.
I completely love and accept myself.
Right.
And I'm so grateful now that I realize I have control of that. I've calmed down, and I'm feeling that complete peace. Cross your hands, cross your heart, take a deep breath in, and let it out.
Hey, I felt
there's those lights.
I felt that.
Do you see the lights?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Is that from, what is that?
Oh, that's a long, complicated
we won't
discussion for another day.
I was thinking maybe that means your blood is flowing better. I don't know.
No, it's actually a complex metabolic pathway that involves oxytocin, dimethyltryptamine, and melatonin.
We'll say that
stuff like that.
We'll say that for another.
So we'll do that for another day.
We'll go on.
So. But it's cool, isn't it? You do that and
really
you see flashing lights.
No, you really do.
Yeah.
Like, it starts like around here and then it kind of goes across your eyes. It's freaking cool. Gotta try
so that's a great way to relax when you're at the doctor. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the issue of nutrition. Because nutrition has a huge effect. We talked about vitamin D3.
Right.
Very important. Vitamin D3 really has an effect, a positive effect on the metabolic pathways where your kidneys are regulating blood pressure and blood volume.
Okay.
And so if your D3 is low, it's hard for those communications to occur.
Okay.
The other thing is vitamin C has a very positive effect on blood pressure. Coenzyme Q10,
right.
An enzyme involved in your Krebs cycle making energy, right? And also phosphatidylcholine. So phosphatidylcholine is made from your genetic code,
right.
And choline is a compound that you get from food, and you convert it to phosphatidylcholine, and this helps to make up the cell wall. And so cell walls can be functioning very well and be very elastic and fluid and allow nutrients in and toxins out to be removed, by your lymph system.
Sure.
But with low phosphatidylcholine, that system won't work as well. And as you age, you make less phosphatidylcholine.
Gosh.
And so that's why age is one of the main reasons why people want to check your blood pressure more often, because as you age, you're more likely to have it.
Right.
And part of it is because you're making less phosphatidylcholine.
Right.
So we have phosphatidylcholine in our Boomer Boost product along with the other antioxidants.
That's correct. It's 70 different nutrients, and those are in there, I'll tell you that.
And sometimes also if people have stubborn high blood pressure, you might ask your doctor about taking a little more phosphatidylcholine.
Okay.
Up to 1,000 milligrams.
Okay.
And then watch and see what happens.
What happens?
Now, sometimes when people use really great nutrition products that have all these things in it, and also potassium, magnesium, calcium.
Like we were saying earlier.
And also arginine for helping to dilate your
vasodilation.
Right? Then what can happen is if you're on blood pressure medication, your blood pressure can get too low. So you always want to work together with your doctor and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to release some weight. I'm getting my Vivos device to help with my sleep apnea. Right.
I'm getting my heart math device.
Yep. I'm going to stop eating so much food with sugar and sodium.
Yep.
And I'm going to be taking these nutritional supplements that contain 7 different or 10 different probably antioxidants, and also there's potassium, magnesium, calcium, phosphatidylcholine, arginine in these, and I want to work together with you to make sure my blood pressure doesn't go too low on the dose of medication I'm on.
Exactly.
I'm going to be checking it every day. I'll come more frequently to have it checked with you, and if it starts to go too low, then let's see what we're going to do.
And this would be a good time to kind of keep your journal while you go at home and you're taking your blood pressure to show the progress.
Show the progress. And if you don't want your blood pressure going too low for a whole number of reasons. One of them is you can get very dizzy when you stand up if you have low blood pressure. And you don't want to stand up and fall or have to worry about it every time you stand up. So you want to keep your blood pressure, regulated within a tight range, not too high, not too low.
Optimal range.
Okay.
Optimal range.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And so that's basically it for today.
Man, that's a lot of information. Anyway.
Well, good. So thanks to everyone for being here with us at Live Forever Young Radio. And we'll see you on the next time. Thank you very much, Rollie.
Thanks, Bobby.
Have a great day.
Very informative. Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.